Hi, my name's Lee Carswell from Time to Speak, and today it's time to speak about joy. So if you were to Google Hebrew word for joy, it would come up with the word simcha, and we will talk about simcha in a little while. I want you to think of joy as being like a deep, deep pool, so deep that you can't see the bottom. You don't know what's in there until you get into it. But then closer to the surface are the things we can see, like ripples, like the wind moving the water, like reflections, maybe some splashing. First, I want to read Isaiah 51 verse 11, and we'll see the different kinds of joy that the Hebrew Bible speaks about. Those the Lord has rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. So we see there entering Zion with singing. That word is rinah. Everlasting joy, gladness and joy. So gladness is that word simcha, that Hebrew word which is important to the Jewish culture. In fact, simcha is like shorthand for a celebration. So for a wedding or a bat mitzvah or a bar mitzvah, it's a simcha. And that word is translated in the Bible as gladness. And that's a sort of fun ripple we see at the surface, isn't it? It's the laughter, maybe it's the laughing out loud, maybe it's a smile, maybe it's just joy in the eyes. And yet we can see that gladness, and it makes other people smile, and it's really important. But the word joy in the Hebrew Bible is a different word. It's sason. And sason is the deeper part of the pool. That's the one that you get down into when you experience joy, and you experience it the way the Lord experiences it. Everlasting joy. The everlasting joy that will crown our heads as we enter His place. And that's the joy that we want to talk about, because that's biblical joy. Now, it's ironic that today I'm speaking to you about this because I've had actually a pretty tricky day with my kids and not feeling particularly joyful. There's not a lot of simcha in me at the moment, and yet there is sason. It doesn't feel wonderful. I don't feel like laughing out loud, and yet I know it's there because I know that the Lord has given it to me. It's one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit. And because I am in Him, I have sason. And it's really about me understanding that it's there, trusting Him that it's there, and asking Him to help me tap into it, or to swim right down deep into it. There's a beautiful set of verses from Zephaniah chapter 3. On that day, it's on the last day, they'll say to Jerusalem, "Don't fear, Zion. Don't let your hands hang limp. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love, He'll no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing." The Lord sings with joy over us. He takes delight in us. Because of His love, He's rejoicing over us with singing. Rejoicing with us, sason. Singing, rinah. So I know that the Lord understands joy because He's the author of joy. He's the originator of it. And He is the one that gives it to me as His person. Simcha is good, and I encourage you to have as much simcha in your life as possible. In fact, seek out the things that bring you simcha. Gladness, happiness, a good mood, good friends, shared times, those quiet moments. But seek sason. Seek that joy. It's there. If you belong to God, it's there. And it's about uncovering it. And sometimes we uncover it because we're in a dark place. And I think of King David in Psalm 51, verse 12, where he realised absolutely that he had totally failed. And yet in verse 12, where he has asked God to forgive him, to create in him a new heart, he says, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit." Restore the Sason to him. It was always there, but he lost touch with it. Restore our Sason. Remember our salvation, our deliverance, and have a willing spirit. Be willing to dive into that pool of joy as deep as we possibly can.